Good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe is a failed state. This has to be the number one issue on the national agenda. The nation is drifting deeper and deeper into trouble. And that is the reason why it must be the number one issue. What is disappointing here is, to start with, we don't seem to be recognizing the problem. And then the reason why for the last 46 years, things have been getting worse and worse. Don't seem to be learning anything from the past. At the present moment, the nation is facing serious challenges. One of the biggest challenges is the number of Zimbabweans who are being forced to leave South Africa. For the last 25 years, many Zimbabweans have been forced to leave the country. We are scattered all over the globe like autumn leaves. But many of us are in South Africa and some of the other neighboring countries. The political heat that has generated over the years with South Africans saying we don't want Zimbabweans and other foreigners cannot be ignored. We have seen many countries paying attention to that problem. And yet, in terms of numbers, Zimbabweans have got even more Zimbabweans in South Africa than many of the other countries. And while those countries are paying attention to the problem, we don't seem to be even noticing it. One of the big issues that is burning this last week has been this confession by Taguire, where he's boasting of his achievements and how much he controls RNPF. Corruption in Zimbabwe is rampant. And that has been one of the main causes, the consequences, if you want, of the failed state, of the de facto one-party state that has ruled the country for the last 46 years. We played this video clip, and we're going to play it again to pick some of the issues that we discussed throughout today's program. I'll just play the first few minutes of that video clip, and then we'll play other bits, snippets from it as the afternoon goes on.
I'm a kingmaker. I'm not a kingmaker. Most of my decisions are made when they actually come from me. I do my meetings Lamdara about twice a week, twice every week. We discuss economic issues, we discuss political issues and everything. So I am a kingmaker right now. After the president, I am the most powerful person in government, although I'm outside government. And so what we now need Pamberapa is, and the CAB3 yakatopera. That was the the third highlight. CAB3.
Well, that is interesting. So Zimbabwe now is being ruled by individuals who are not even elected by the people. Bad enough with the likes of Mnangagwa, who rigged the elections, but at least they went through the process of pretending to give the people the vote. And now it turns out he is merely a puppet. And the guy who is pulling the strings has not even been elected by the people. It's making a mockery of democratic accountability. Welcome to the program, Ben.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. You know, we shouldn't be surprised that we are seeing, unelected, guys, thugs taking over the show. The evidence is there. I mean, look, just recently, the president of South Africa paid Zimbabwe a midnight call because it was so private. And who was there to meet them? The president of Zimbabwe and his mafia organization. There were no elected officials there present. It was a hide and seek thing. And when we look at it, every time when the president is making an appearance on TV or anything, ZITF, big places, who is there around him? Who is the closest? If not Tagwire and Chivayo. Of course, they've taken over. That is what the videos, the pictures are showing. Where are the vice presidents? Where are the ministers? Those are supposed to be, the ones that are closest to, the president. He's got his own advisors. We've never seen them that close up with the president, except these two. So yes, he is right to say that, to claim that I am the closest to this here, to the president, and he is closer to the presidency itself. I mean, we've heard leaked video, audio clips from Chivayo saying, he's got the president in his pocket. He too has also claimed. So these are two people that are claiming to be right close to the presidency. And the videos and the images that are coming out with them being right up close with the president only supports their narrative. So it is true.
I have referred to the events in South Africa. This is a recent picture from somebody in Cape Town who is reporting of how foreigners are being hounded out of that country. This is the place where the foreigners lived, and it has been set on fire. And these are some of the pictures of the people who have been beaten and some killed. This happened in the small hours of the morning. This situation is only going to get worse. And to be quite honest, if we want to be honest with ourselves, we have seen this coming These millions of Zimbabweans who have left the country to go to South Africa, some of them have known of the xenophobia, violence, and that they're not wanted in that country. But they've been forced to go because Zimbabwe is a failed state. Corruption has become so rampant. The economy has all but collapsed. And yet, instead of addressing those basic problems, we are dodging them. We are refusing to accept that we have got a serious problem. We now have some of the individuals who have been responsible for helping Mnangagwa loot the nation's wealth, boasting that they are now the kingmaker. And as we'll hear later on in the same video, Takwirei is now talking of they have dealt with the problem of the Constitutional Amendment Bill, which seeks to extend Mnangagwa's stay in office, and more significantly, to take the little meaningful say in the governance of the country that ordinary Zimbabweans had, to dilute it even further. And they have got now the prospect of the same corrupt individuals becoming not the kingmakers, but the king. We are digging ourselves deeper and deeper into this economic hell. And that point has got to be said again and again. We are own worst enemies. Tagwire and company are not digging us out of the hell on earth we find ourselves in. They're digging us deeper into it. And one of the most disappointing things is that Zimbabweans, even after 46 years of this madness, seem to be unaware of what is going on, much less thinking of how to end it. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe.
I think, as a country, we should be ashamed of ourselves. Because now Zimbabwe, you can liken it to a drug cartel, where slowly but surely they are conquering the streets and each street corner. They are now bulldozing everything aside to take just about everything that we thought we had. Not that we had, but we thought we had. You look at Zimbabwe and you look at how we throughout the years we've conducted our election processes, for example. We know that Zimbabwean elections are a farce. Zimbabwean elections are rigged. And it is not my opinion, but there is evidence that has been brought forward that actually simplifies how the rigging is done. And make matters worse, we have international organizations and observers that have come through and have also stated the same thing. So Zimbabweans that actually thought that Zimbabwe was a democracy or that elections were a way to speak out know that it is actually not true. And I'm glad you used the word to say the very little democracy that we thought we had is now being further diluted. If you could vote for your MP or your councillor, pretty soon that day will be taken away from you. Just the same way you are seeing the presidency now has completely been taken away from you. That's to say you have gone into the ballot box, despite being rigged. I have gone into the ballot box, I've chosen my president, is now absolutely gone. So we are only going to find that, our political environment, toxic as it is now, is going to be worse. It's a can of worms. The best before has long ago expired. Zimbabwe is a living nightmare, is a textbook example of a failure to govern themselves. I'm not surprised that we are seeing these and listening to these audio where they are claiming, because the evidence has always been there. The worst thing about Zimbabweans is that there are people that do the hard work for them and show them what is going on. Then Zimbabweans, they run around with it for a few weeks or months because it's hot news. It sells. Everybody wants to make a comment here, there, and quickly fades away. It becomes normal. This what is happening is normal in Zimbabwe. It's quite unfortunate that we are only digging ourselves deeper and deeper into the unknown.
Well, I'd like to remind those people listening out there that if you want to join us, please use the link at the bottom of the screen there, or you can post your comments and we'll try to share as many of the comments as we can. Would like to hear from you, and more specifically, to hear what you think the nation should do to get out of this mess. I'll just play a few more minutes of that video clip of a leaked video of Dr. posting of his powers.
Katopera is going to be voted by parliament. Then the president will just simply sign on the BS that the president cannot go against the parliament. Parliament is representing people. Yeah, so the president is just going to simply sign. And once it's law, pachatanga kuita now a campaign yekuti takuda young leadership more presidium. So that will be the next war. Right now we can't fight wars. We can't fight war dissension yana general, and we can't fight war CAB3 at the same time. We have to fight one war at a time. So once we win the war CAB3, we go for the second war general.
My apologies.
for general zvikanzi so mukatarisa ndakahwina pana mudhara Isaac Moyo and mudhara Matanga. I had them 4
fired.
I'll win again. Yes, Hans used the word 4. Hans, I will have my way again on general. I will have my way. Saka aiti pamuchato wemwana wangu mangwana ndopamuchaona who is a kingmaker in government. The whole government is coming here. The whole government. Yeah, except the general. But the whole government is coming, including.
Well, it turned out he was right. The whole government did turn up for his son's wedding. What we cannot deny here is that we have got a political system that has been corrupted to the core. Pretending that this system is working is naive, to say the very least. Zimbabwe's political system is corrupt to the core. Mnangagwa himself got into office on the cocktail of a military coup in 2017. The people of Zimbabwe had no say in that. To calm everybody down, he promised that he was going to hold free, fair, and credible elections. He failed to implement even one token reform. Many people believed him, particularly Zimbabweans. They were all asking for, let's give him a chance. But anyone who was serious could see that that was not going to bring about any change. He launched his infamous Zimbabwe is open for business mantra soon after the military coup. He announced it. He went to Switzerland, to the Economic Forum, with a strong delegation, all wearing the traditional multicolored scarves, announcing that Zimbabwe was open for business. And he was hoping that this would attract the investors. It did not. Investors are a shrewd lot. They could see what had happened after the military coup was nothing more than musical chairs, where Mugabe and a few of the corrupt individuals around him were removed, only to be replaced by Mnangagwa and his own corrupt cronies. Zimbabwe was still a failed state, a pariah state. That had not changed. And so the flood of investors that he was cocksure would happen when he announced his Zimbabwe is open for business did not take place. It took about a year before that reality finally dawned on him. And typical of him, instead of finding a solution for addressing the problem, why did Zimbabwe is open for business fail to attract investors? and come up with a solution, he could only think of another slogan. Zimbabwe inovakwa nevene vayo. Zimbabweans were already broke. The nation had lost its resources, including material and human resources. So you're going to build Zimbabwe with what? We were talking earlier on about the millions of Zimbabweans who have been forced to leave the country because they could not do anything in the country. Even those who had started business and seemed to be doing well, the economic system was so corrupt and so wasteful that even successful businesses have all but collapsed. If we started talking of how many industries, well-established industries, have collapsed since independence, the list is endless. Talk of a small, or rather a town like Gweru. You had many industries there, and they were doing very well. But they've all, or most of them, have since collapsed. Go to Mutare, the same thing. Harare, the same thing. Bulawayo, the same thing. So this issue of Zimbabwe, who, when established industries have since been forced to close. But this is at the heart of our problem. We have a political system that is not accountable to anyone, that seems to believe that slogans and propaganda will somehow end Zimbabwe's political problems, political and economic problems. The truth is, they are not. We have a problem here, and we really need to start addressing it and dealing with it head on.
I totally agree with you. You know, but what really pains the most is, you know, Zimbabwe has got, it's got to be the most incredible and naive, you know, people out there. We knew the history of the likes of Mnangagwa and what he stands for and what he is actually capable of doing. We know this. But somehow in 2017, we wiped his slate clean. Now, we even polished that slate. We, the people, not him. He didn't have to do anything for himself. We did it. You know, I can still picture the millions of people that were running with the soldiers and singing Ndarawacho Achahuya. And when you tried to stop them and say, gentlemen, ladies, this person here, we know him. A leopard cannot just change his spots. We became not the enemy of ZANU-PF, but the enemy of Zimbabwe. The few that stopped to think, became victims of abuse verbally, some even, physical abuse, not at the hands of ZANU-PF, but at the hands of fellow Zimbabwe. Now we are at a juncture where we are seeing what we have been saying all along manifest. And now everybody seems to be worried and trying to catch a breath, as if somebody who was very surprised. You have documentaries that were prepared, that took time to investigate before bringing them out. It became so big, it became a 4-part series, The Gold Mafia, where it shows how Zimbabwe loses close to $2 billion in gold, dealings, how they siphon gold, 2 billion. And this is just gold. Zimbabwe has got one of the best deposits of lithium. Up to today, none of us actually know how this whole operation is done, how we are selling it, how we are getting it out of the soil, where is it going? Nobody knows. It's done in the dead of the night. We just see trucks at the borders crossing, covered up. Sometimes you see it because naughty elephants open the canvases. This is what Zimbabwe has turned into. A cartel, mafia style. And I don't, you kind of give leeway to the aunties and uncles in the rural areas that really don't know better. And sometimes are actually forced because, they are doing it for survival. Firstly, they don't even have title deeds to where they stay. So they are basically, renting the place. And you have to do what the landlord says. Otherwise, you will find yourself homeless. I understand those. But the guy that is learned and the guy that is supposed to be the intellectual supported Mnangagwa's takeover. And they knew how he had already controlled the gold empire whilst he was still under the Mugabe regime. And now we stand surprised to see that the cartel now has formed its own parallel structures. That is how we have watched them in the movies. I'm sure everybody out there has watched some of these drug action movies. This is what we are seeing in Zimbabwe, where some believe that they are, within the structure or within the hierarchy. But on the side, there are those that are killing off those that are actually elected or within, the hierarchy. It's going to get brutal. And this is what, that part was saying, to say, we have gotten this CAB3. Now we are going after those that are within the structure to eliminate them. That is the right word to use, to eliminate the likes of General Chiwenga, to eliminate anybody that oppose or will or want to oppose, their ascension. Basically, they are going to bulldoze their way. And one thing is, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And that grass, unfortunately, many Zimbabweans think that, no, it's not going to touch us. You are the grass. Because whoever is going to win that battle from that elephant, you cannot celebrate because you've been trampled. And you will be trampled and eaten again.
I think one of the tragedies with our failed political system is that it has not allowed for meaningful political discourse to chart the way forward for the country. Many people have been siding with VP Chiwenga because they see him as the alternative to this Mnangagwa faction. They're just falling into the same trap that the nation fell in 2017, when they saw the choice as being between Mugabe and Mnangagwa. They supported Mnangagwa and focusing on Mugabe must go, not knowing that this was not a solution at all. The solution to Zimbabwe's problem is ending the dictatorship. Swapping one dictator for another is not the solution. Here is Pastor Chiwenga reminding Zimbabweans on who VP Chiwenga is.
Before Vice President Chiwenga preaches any sermon, he has to apologize for the people who died on 1 August 2018. He was the Vice President, and the blood of those people are in his hands. You can't preach to us when you haven't apologized for the death of the people that died under your watch. When people died in 2008, when some of them were damned in different dams, he was the commander of the defense forces. The people who killed our citizens were soldiers under his command. Every Zimbabwean who died from the time he was the Zimbabwe National Army commander to the time he was the CDF, the blood of those people are in his hands. He can't preach to us. His hands are too dirty. And this is God speaking. I don't care if I die tomorrow. He has tried to kill me before. And so I'm prepared for my death. No paridziran. No paridziran. Where is Itai Zamara? Where is Mboneni Nguve? Where is Tinashe Chitsunge? Where is More Blessing Ali? Where is Tinashe Chiminya and Talent Mabika? Where is Rashue Guja? Where is Tondra Indira? Where is Susan Changira? You think that was an ordinary accident? We know what happened. Some of us are not idiots. If you are a CDF and soldiers go about killing people, it means you have ordered the massacre of the people. He is not a saint in Zimbabwean politics. He is a player. He gave the final order as the CDF. No soldier goes out to harm people without his command. So tell me, when did he become a child of God, Vice President Chiwenga? He's a child of God from which date? From which date? Vice President Chiwenga, mwana wa Mwari kutanga rini. I was in Zaka Jerera. I lived at Ferry Training Center. I was a coordinator of the Pakosi program in 2008 and 2009. I was operating in all of Zaka, from Zaka Tenov up to Chirezi Tenov there. I know the Ndanga area, I know the Chief Nyagunua area, I know the Chivambu area, I know the Vengesai area, I know the Machiva area. I patrolled in the Malipati Compens area. I know that area. And one day, as I was entering into the complex, I had forgotten something with my vehicle. I saw a Mitsubishi L200. It was light blue in color. So the gate into the ferry training center complex, which is about 15 kilometers from Zaka Growth Point, 2 cars cannot pass through.
Okay.
So we had to park our RBZ vehicle so that the army car would come. We could not stay at Flamboyant Hotel, which was our official residence, because it was too far from Zaka. So we decided to stay at the ferry training center. So we shared classrooms with the army.
Okay.
I saw a Mitsubishi L200 with dead bodies and blood in the floor of that car. The soldiers who were there were going at night, taking opposition people in their houses. And when we left, they brought them to the center there, beat them up until they died, and then go wherever they were going to dump them. So the guy tried to talk too much to our driver, and I got suspicious. He's over-friendly, unusually. What is he carrying inside that car? I saw dead bodies of Zimbabwean citizens murdered by members of the Zimbabwe National Army during the 2008 election. I
think the important message in that video clip is that VP Chiwenga, as much as some people would want to see him as the only viable alternative to Mnangagwa, is not a Democrat. Indeed, he is on record saying ZANU-PF ichatonga kusvika madhonga amera nyanga. And he even boasted that if the opposition don't like something, we'll change the law. In other words, he was anticipating this constitutional amendment bill number 3. Little did he realize that that bill would seek to undo him. And now he's against it. And for one specific reason. It seeks to extend Mnangagwa's stay in office beyond the 10-year limit. And he, true to the mantra, ZANU-PF ichatonga kusvika madhonga amera nyanga, is fighting against it because he thinks it is his turn to rule. The people of Zimbabwe must realize that this is a failed political system. And it is therefore no surprise at all that it is failing to offer the solution to the problem. But failing to understand that does not change the reality on the ground. The reality is the system has failed, and perpetuating it by supporting the likes of Chiwenga is not solving the problem at all. We made the mistake in 2017 when people came out in support of the 2017 military coup, because they were focused on ending Mnangagwa's rule, Mugabe's rule, and they were not paying attention to who are we putting in their place, in his place. Everybody knew who Mnangagwa was. He had been Mugabe's left-hand man, his henchman. Pastor Chiwenga there was talking of 2008. It was none other than Mnangagwa and Chiwenga who orchestrated the 2008 Operation Mafutera Papi, where they sought to punish the people of Zimbabwe for daring to reject ZANU-PF. The two individuals should have been sent to Chukurumbi and never ever allowed to hold public office ever again. We did not do that. And now the two individuals are occupying the two highest offices in the land. This is a problem of our own making. And we need to start repeating the same problem, the same mistakes over and over again. Swapping Mugabe for Mnangagwa in 2017 was foolish. If we're going to swap Mnangagwa for Chiwenga, that again shows that we are not making any progress at all. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. At the present moment where we are, this constitutional amendment bill number 3 is a done deal. As the video clip we've been showing you of Takwire posting clearly shows. The truth of the matter is, where do we go from here? The Constitutional Amendment Bill will, without doubt, drag the nation even deeper into this economic and political hell on earth. That is the reality, and that is the reality we must deal with. We cannot run away from it. The question is, I repeat, how are we going to get out of this hellhole we find ourselves in? Ben.
Well, but I think, we are wrong to continue saying that it is the lack of understanding or it is ignorance that we find Zimbabwe in this position. I think we are watering it down. We are not taking responsibility for our actions as Zimbabwe. We knew what Mnangagwa was all about. And rightfully, you said they orchestrated Operation Mavotera Papi. And they took it even further. When SADC had organized, the GNU, they said they would refuse to salute a democratic elected president outside ZANU-PF, which shows that indeed they were dictators, both of them. And how we ended up giving them the keys. They did not bulldoze and take the keys. We gave them the keys to the highest office in the land. And with that, we gave them total submission. We did it. Zimbabweans, rightfully, like you just say, you showed the video, the picture of Zimbabweans singing with the soldiers and running with the tankers. That was not even a democratic process. We were supporting that violent action, that undemocratic action. Zimbabweans, millions of them, supported it. Thereby, like I said, cleaning the slate and polishing it. How we can be surprised that Mnangagwa is doing this, it just shows how naive and you know, arrogant instead of ignorant we are. We brought this to ourselves. And worse, the most disturbing thing out there is we want to do the same thing by removing the other half of Operation Mafotera Papi, of August killings, and putting the other. So we are really not doing ourselves a favor. And you're finding millions of us in support of it. So we are not moving forward in any way or the other.
Well, the question that has to be asked now is where do we go from here? I believe where we go from here is not as simple and clear cut as most people would want. Indeed, one of the reasons why we are in this mess is that many of us have always been looking for the quick, easy solution. This is not one of those cases where there is a quick and easy, clearly defined solution out there. We have to accept we are in deep, deep trouble. We have to accept that the likes of Takwirei and his cronies have become extremely powerful. They not only control the political leaders, they also are controlling the ordinary citizens. Many Zimbabweans have found it impossible to resist the gifts from the likes of Chifayo. They have become so powerful, they are determining who gets elected in ZANU-PF. And they are determining the public opinion in the sense that they are the ones who are bankrolling some of the repeated mentality of the ordinary citizens that we have seen. Give them a piece of chicken, sapatin, the occasional vehicle, and these people believe that what we have, the system we have, is working, when in reality, it is that is what is destroying the nation. So wrestling power from the likes of Takwirei and his fellow mafia gangsters is not going to be easy. And that is a reality that most people should accept. Because until you accept that reality, you will be caught in this meaningless cycle where you think a quick solution like electing Chiwenga is the solution, when in reality all you're doing is digging yourself deeper and deeper into the abyss. That is the reality. And I think the first point is for people to accept that there is no quick fix. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
later in that audio, I would encourage every Zimbabwean to go and listen to the audio for themselves. Later in the audio, in the conversation, they talk about how they have already paid the likes of, Zek and other, players out there. We have seen, what, videos of people getting gifted cars, influential people getting given cars, how Zek, has been paid off, from even the previous elections, where the South African, bankers have raised red flags on transactions that happened that involved the likes of Zek with Wickno, and we've always said on this platform, Zimbabwean elections are rigged. Therefore, our continuous participation in these rigged elections is actually what has dragged us deeper and deeper into this mess. And a lot of people have said that we do not support participating in rigged elections, and we are taking away their rights. Now, this audio actually even supports what we have been saying. Participating in rigged elections is dragging us deeper and deeper into the mess, because there will only be one outcome in that. ZANU-PF will rig the elections and get away with it, and we will be in the same mess. So now that they've already said they are done with this process, and which we have warned that they will go about it unopposed, are we then saying we are going to continue participating in rigged elections? Because we are going to go, after all this is done, we are going to go into election. And millions of Zimbabweans will want to participate in that election and drag the country deeper and deeper. We've got to stop this. I think that is our primary problem, and we need to fix that first. The Zimbabwean, political environment is so toxic, nothing can grow. It affects both economic, social, you name it. So unless we seek first the political kingdom, fix that, we are at a point where we are just digging ourselves deeper and deeper. Sometimes there is a need to stop before you get in too deep. That's if we are not too deep already. So I think our starting point and our best point is to stop participating in rigged election up until we get the recommendations that the likes of SADC, European Union, African Union have always suggested to us. Those are the corrections that need to be made for us to pass the bar. Now, if we do not see the need of those corrections and we still want to continue as is, we are only creating ourselves a bed of thorns, and we have to lie in it. So my advice to any free will thinking Zimbabwean out there, whoever is saying let us participate in rigged elections is not for you, has been paid, has something to gain at the end of the day. You don't. But you can stop yourselves from participating in rigged elections that will only perpetuate your own suffering. So if there are no reforms, there should be no election. That is my advice to any free thinking Zimbabwean out there. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. Well, my way forward, like I said earlier on, is that we should not be looking for an easy, quick fix, because there is no easy, quick fix. But we can, nonetheless, fight back this ZANU-PF juggernaut. One of the areas where ZANU-PF has remained strong is in the rural areas. Indeed, the regime considers the rural areas its stronghold. And yet, if you think about it, this should be its weakest area. ZANU-PF has managed to keep the rural people poor and destitute deliberately. When the country gained its independence in 1980, one of the big issues that the nation had been fighting in the War of Independence was over land. ZANU-PF knew that the people in the rural areas, the one thing they needed the most was land. Give them the ownership of the land, and those people will be able to improve their own standard of living. We have shown on this platform again and again the poor state of our rural people. No one should be living in this day and age in a mud hut. And yet that is exactly where millions of our own people live in today. The regime has deliberately kept the rural people poor and dependent on the regime and its proxies. We need to go out there and start addressing this problem. The rural people should be given title deeds to at least a few acres on which the mud hut stands. The rural people are the hostage to our political system. The ZANU-PF is counting on keeping the hostages to maintain its own political power. Free the hostage and ZANU-PF will fall. The ordinary people, those in the rural areas, have not fought this battle. It's because they never had a voice. We, particularly those of us in the diaspora and in the urban centers, we know what is happening there. We should be their voice. We have been silent for too long. We should start speaking on behalf of these millions who are the true victim of this failed state. Think about it. This is only way to undermine and end the ZANU-PF dictatorship. As long as ZANU-PF is able to depend on millions of rural voters the regime will stay in power. The regime is counting on every so often buying these rural people a piece of chicken in, and they'll be singing Sapatina, Sapatina. Explain to these people that they will be better off if they had the title deeds to the land and they can build for themselves a decent home. ZANU-PF is refusing to give them that because they realize, just as Ian Smith realized, that you give the rural people the title deeds, you have economically empowered them. The next thing they would be demanding is meaningful political empowerment. Ian Smith could not risk that. ZANU-PF cannot risk that. But that is exactly what we should be looking at. Zimbabwe's independence has been compromised because millions have been deliberately kept poor and politically powerless. The millions of ordinary Zimbabweans in the rural areas are no more than medieval serfs, ever beholden to the overbearing landlords. In this case, ZANU-PF ruling elite and their proxies. This we must end. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.